But let's say the guy you just lost mid to has 20,000 hours. Why do you think you deserve to beat him, right? Have you done enough work to deserve to beat that guy? Probably not. He's probably played more than you. Or if I lose a game to some guy mid and I also have like 10,000 hours, right? Like, I'm not going to be like, wow, nothing you could do. Bro has more hours. But to have an ego and be like, I should have beat this guy mid and now I'm so mad. That's not how you get better. Now you just go look at the replay and see like how this guy beat you is what you should do.
No, the
when
ego
replay still existed.
Gets in the way of so much.
Yeah.
I
the
feel
ego
like
is not self-serving. That's basically my main point. Like it purely gets in your way and just like griefs your life. I don't know. Like, oh, I wish I should have won. Like, what does that thought even matter? That has nothing to do with Dota or anything that actually happened.
Welcome to the Dota Club podcast. We are live on Twitch right now for the first time. Honestly, we're probably going to do this weekly. I didn't know,
Every Sunday.
But it's kind of fun. Yeah. Every Sunday at 10 a.m. PST. We're going to be live on Twitch recording this. We have a few people in chat right now. But yeah, if you want to come hang, you can do it. But just know we're probably not going to be interacting with chat a lot. If you post something really funny or relevant, probably going to put it up on the screen like this. We can show chat. This is actually a really cool feature.
You just calling out him for not playing chess.
Something that I need to talk about because it caused me some emotional trauma. When I play Dota, all of my negative experiences comes from things that are not about the actual game. So it can be like the social aspect around the game or me, thinking about what my teammates are doing. But whenever I think about the actual Dota, it ends up being a really good time. I just had a negative experience where I was beefing with some guy in my party, and then he wrote me like a very personalized, like hateful Steam message after, and then I continued the cycle where I got against him in a pub and I stomped him and I wrote some mean things to him in all chat. I kind of continued the cycle of violence.
Yeah, all right.
But anyway, the whole experience was just a good reminder to only focus on the Dota, because that's what I love about Dota. And honestly, a lot of the other stuff outside of just the Dota is like particularly not good. Like the social aspect.
Yeah. My thought on this, I have more of a milder take than I normally would. And I think it's just because I was reading the comments on the Dota Club podcast. And I think it was the one comment about the brew that got me thinking.
That was a really nice comment.
It was just a nice comment. But what it had me thinking about is like, the way we enjoy Dota isn't necessarily the way everyone enjoys Dota. So
I do want to just say the comments. I think it's interesting. We were talking about how people don't give heroes the respect they deserve, and they just like kind of raw dog them without, learning builds or anything. And then he brought up how he said he thinks it's a maturity gap between people who view Dota as like a subject and Dota as a game.
Yeah, that relates to
the people who view it as a subject, like study it outside of it and stuff. And that's, how you and I enjoy Dota. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't say it's a maturity gap. I don't think that's what it is. I think I don't think I'm inherently more
mature than people.
Yeah, people just enjoy it in different ways, but there is a distinction. Okay, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, basically, well, what I'm saying is like not everyone treats it as a subject. That's exactly it. I don't know if I like the terminology of treating it as a subject, just because like I don't think we're like professors cooking in the lab necessarily. Like we're just doing the bare minimum. Yourself,
bro.
The bare minimum is like you do CS trainer and you like watch a replay before you play a hero. Like that doesn't make me like the savant of Dota 2, university necessarily. But what I was going to say is that on your point, not everyone enjoys the game the same way. And I've been thinking about that more where like some people don't want to, or maybe some people enjoy Dota for not the Dota, right? Like for them, they enjoy Dota. We have friends like this where they enjoy Dota because they get to talk to their friends and play video games.
Yeah.
And, like, put on Dota as a background activity.
It's like now, social hour for
exactly. And now what I will say about that is that I understand myself and I know that what I enjoy Dota for is the Dota. When I'm playing with people, when I'm stacking with people, I'm not stacking with them to talk. I'm stacking with them so we can all play Dota together. People have different goals, right? Where some people make a 5-stack and the goal of the 5-stack is all 5 of these people are getting in to talk, right?
Yeah, so, like to catch up with old friends or something.
Exactly. And that's fine. What I think is the big issue is you need to have your expectations aligned and play people who enjoy the game in a similar way. So what we were saying is, we enjoy Dota for just the Dota. And I agree with this point. Whenever I have negative experiences in Dota, it's because I engage with my teammates. I talk about something that's not the Dota. My teammate is yapping about like what he had for lunch or some shit. Like this is the kind of stuff that triggers me during the Dota game. And like every single negative experience ever that I can relate to Dota is not about the Dota 2. Because if I lose a game based on like what happened in the video game, that's what you queued up for. But what pisses me off is like everything outside of Dota. So for me to personally enjoy it, all I have to do, this is what we were talking about, is just not ever make it not about the Dota. My teammate starts engaging me, mute that guy. That ain't Dota. Some guy starts chatting. Literally, my guy starts being friendly. We had a clockwork in our game who was just chatting about like, wow, this new facet is so swag. You're muted, buddy. Like, I don't give a fuck about your facet. Sorry.
It feels bad because he's a nice
no,
guy.
he's like having a great time. But that guy's not there for the Dota.
We're just not on the same page.
Exactly. And so
he's there to say, I got you, crabs, after he saves me in the
exactly.
team fight, and I like tip him.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that shit, as positive as it may be. But other people might enjoy Dota similar or in different ways. So that's why, like, when we say this stuff, I just wanted to. I was thinking about that, right? Because our methodology doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah, no, I've been feeling that because I've been playing in some different norm stacks because you haven't been playing, and so many of them are just there for like social hour. And the reason why I don't enjoy Dota for that is because when I use Dota as social hour and I like join Discord with the stack and they're like talking about other things during the game, it just makes me play worse. And again, and maybe this comes from the fact that I have like other social outlets where I check that box. But Dota checks a very distinct box for me. You know, it checks like the competitive box, like Drive. That's where I get that side of myself out.
Yeah, because you also don't have like a competitive outlet elsewhere where you could like, right? Because we used to play sports together, and that would be our competitive outlet. But like, if you don't have that now, then that's that. I think you're right in the sense that like,
well,
that's
I have started on Jerkmate ranked recently.
Well, I'm already master in that, so you're fucking cooked, bud.
My competitive drive in Dota has been going down a little bit.
No wonder. You've been playing less passionate.
No, I kind of have. I've fixed it recently though, because you haven't played for a few days. But
it was a bit, but yeah.
No, I feel like I went through a phase for a few weeks where I was just like okay with dying more and stuff. And honestly, I hate to say this, but I went through a phase where I was playing a lot of Turbo, like pretty casually with somebody, and I was using it as a social outlet. Like this is a friend I met online, and we would disc and like chat and like have fun in Turbo, and I feel like it made me worse.
Well, yeah, I don't doubt it for a
like
second.
A week, because I mean, locking it like if you. What am I trying to say here? I think discipline is a muscle, and to be good in Dota, you need to be very disciplined. And so if you play a bunch of Turbo and you untrain yourself to that discipline muscle and you make a bunch of bad decisions, you can't just snap back in and go back to where you were in peak form.
Yeah.
In my experience.
Yeah, because also the issue is like when you're treating Dota as social hour, now once again, as the 7,000th disclaimer, you can if you want to treat it as social hour. Anyways, when you
feel like we're gonna get a lot of comments about this.
Yeah,
it's just like kind of controversial. Like,
people don't like.
I think people are gonna interpret it as like we're saying that if you
stop inviting me to fucking Discord, stop inviting me to Discord. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
The thing is, here's what me and Krabby do, which is very off-putting to people, is we'll join Discord and talk in between the games, and then we'll deafen in Discord between the games. And people
that's
really
so
disturb that or are disturbed by that. Yes, exactly. Because they think we like hate them, right? Like we join Discord and it's like, deafen, stop talking to me. Like it's not like that at all. I just can't. I don't need to hear about like your upcoming vacation, and I'm like 2 waves in at Ember versus Shadow Fiend, right? Like I'm getting angry. I'm getting mad by the second.
It's just not what I'm there for.
It's a terrible vibe. It's a terrible vibe. Yeah, it's awful.
And people aren't even that like overly social. Like it's pretty egregious talking about like vacations like during laning. Like not many people.
It's just 100%. Yeah. You're right. It's just that I think for me personally, when it comes to Dota, like I don't enjoy Dota, or I feel bad when I don't put 100% of my like brain capacity into it. I can tell that my performance falters, and that is annoying because that's what I'm there to do. Is I'm there to like perform and play Dota.
That's one of my favorite things about Dota is that however much brain capacity or brain RAM you're giving it, there's always more that you can give. And there's always another thing you could be thinking about or another
and that brain RAM like has
efficiency
impact
for you to be doing. Yeah, and it has impact in the game, tangible impact that you feel.
Yeah.
You might not be able to like articulate what it is 100% of the time, but you feel it, you know, it's just so many little things coming together. So, I mean, and what people will say when I like talk to people about this is like play ranked, right? We're playing norms. So it's fair enough.
Yeah.
It's fair enough. It's just a difference in, you know, how we view the game.
It's tough. Because the whole casual versus like tryhard stuff is, I mean, that's like a theme of our channel, I think, right? And we're like very blatantly on like the tryhard side.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just the way
Which
I enjoy
another
Dota.
thing, I feel like people in norms are like ashamed of that, or like it's kind of a slur if you call someone like a tryhard. But like Dota is inherently that game.
I don't want
It
to give too heinous of a take, but if you find yourself siding in the norm with like the 072 Lion, who's like, dude, just fucking relax, brother. You need to calm down. And that's the guy like you're gonna side with instead of me, who's like, nah, dude, like you need to try your best. Then you need to rethink who you're siding with here. You're on the wrong
what
side of
I
history.
what I really don't get is that Dota by nature
It's
is a
competitive and
very
try hard.
very very competitive game.
Yes.
And the game is designed in a way so if you're having fun and winning, the enemy team is not having fun. Like they're very weak. They're not powerful. So I feel like if you don't want to try hard, you should just like find a different game. I don't know. But again, if it works for you, it works for you. I'm just saying what I don't understand about the non-try hard side of Dota. And I actually think now that we talked about this, a big part of it, this might be kind of a heinous take, is just cope for being bad, but you like still like Dota and you're attached to it from like a nostalgic perspective.
Yeah.
So you want to, which is fine, I guess, you know, if you, it's okay. It's okay to be bad. I don't want to say that it's like not okay to be bad, but
I'm
I think,
gonna make very personal anecdotes here.
yeah.
But it's not about me. It's about so I play water polo at my college. And we have a freshman it's his first time playing water polo this year. Okay. And every practice first off, he doesn't really show up to practice as much as he should. And I understand because he's playing for the first time and it can be discouraging. So relate this to Dota directly, like very directly. Like you can say this is like a new player in Dota trying to learn a skill. But yeah, so he doesn't show up to practice very much. He's discouraged. And then basically we had a tournament and we had already won the tournament. So there was one extra game that didn't mean anything, right? And so we're like, dude, you can play the whole time. It's going to be sick, right? So he plays the whole time. And the whole time he has expectations on himself. He is more concerned about how he performs and how it's interpreted than the actual act of making good plays, right? And so the whole game, he's doing nothing, just like, like related to Dota, like motherfucker's doing nothing. And all he has to say is it's nothing about the game. It's all like how people interpret it, like, oh, that was so embarrassing. And like, I fucked up so bad. And like, I'm so mad at myself. Oh, I'm so mad at myself. And it's like, what? Like, I understand it because it's like a maturity gap. Like this one's actually a maturity gap. But I'm like, you have never played the game. What are you talking about, man? You're mad at yourself. Oh, I didn't score. Neither did I. Okay. Neither did I. I played the game fucking 8 years, man. Like, what are you talking about? And so it's just like, living in your head, having unrealistic expectations where this player like desires to be good, but for the wrong reasons. I think that was kind of what the conversation distilled down to is like, you desire to be good, to look good, to do things that other people will interpret as good. But the act of doing those things is more about actually thinking about what you need to do, right? And the part where you look good comes later. Same in Dota, where like, in order to be good, you need to be focused on each small play that you're making. And then when you make one small play, you're not satisfied. You're not like, wow, I look so sick. You move on to improving the next small thing. And I think a lot of players play Dota to feel good, to look good, right? Instead of to be good. And the paradox with that is that if you're not trying to be good, if you're just trying to look good, then like you're hindering your own improvement.
I think a lot of that is just in our like immortal norm circles where it is inherently like a very social scene. Because like,
so.
is anyone queuing like a ranked, Crusader pub who doesn't know anyone in the lobby?
I don't think they're trying to look good for the people in their lobby. They're trying to just look like for their internal validation. They want their performance to look good, but they're not thinking about the Dota.
I also think sometimes what people do is like they feel good if them and a teammate flame the same person if they're losing. Because it's not their fault if the team forms a shared opinion on whose fault it is. So nobody takes accountability and everybody blames a scapegoat. When in reality, if it's like a fucking Herald Crusader game, I'm not going to say if you had hands, that's kind of mean, but you could have carried. Like, you could have carried.
Yeah.
Pretty easily, too.
The biggest thing about my like personal...
And if you're not, I offer coaching.
Yeah. The biggest thing I want to make sure I emphasize about this personal anecdote, and this is the part where I like really grilled this kid, is I was like, why are you upset? Why are you having ego? You have no reason to have ego, right? You've never played the game. It's your first time playing, and you have an ego thinking, I should have done this. I should have scored more. I should have looked cooler. you're being delusional, and it's annoying is what it is to your teammates who have spent years and years and years practicing the game, and you're just going to have an ego and expect to do things. It doesn't make any sense.
You feel like it's just going to be handed to you.
Exactly. A lot of people think it's going to be handed to them. So if you relate that to Dota,
if anything, I'm like a little bit jealous of him. It's nice to be a beginner because there are no expectations.
There's no expectations.
When you look at like you or I who have like almost 10,000 hours on Dota, it's like
if I
there
perform
are
poorly,
inherently some
yes,
expectations.
exactly. Every single norm IQ, dude, I pick something that's not Ember. Here comes Pyne Tinker. It's going to be a big int. And then it's like, I got to perform. And I got the other team knows me and stuff. But most importantly, my point was like, it was just not self-serving for this person to have ego, and it really ruined his like day because we had a whole tournament where like he got to play a whole game. This guy like never gets off the bench, right? So it was a great opportunity for him to practice. It was basically the lab, it's the pub, and all he could think about was like being disappointed in his performance and like upset and like all this stuff that's like more about the social aspect of the game, not about the game, and he didn't learn anything.
I mean, I feel like a big part of that is like placing part of your personal identity and like being a good water polo player, or like being a good Dota player, if it affects you outside of the game.
But that relates to ego,
by the way, I've been there in Dota where if I like lose some ranked games, I like feel bad outside of the game.
This is very related to Dota.
It's a terrible place to be, and I feel like it takes work to get over that. Like it's not something you can just necessarily think yourself out of.
Yeah.
It's also tough because it's this like trap of if you're in the game thinking about how you're performing and how you're being perceived, then you're not thinking about the game, so you're just going to play a lot worse too.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I just think it's not about the game. As I said, like if you want to perform better at the game, you need to actually have, let's relate it directly to Dota so that people can relate. Let's say I desire to perform well, just wishing to perform well, just locking in extra hard for this next lane doesn't do anything. But if I am like, I'm going to get a level 2 shove, hit level 2 first and go for like a big trade all in. It's like, that's something concrete that you can actually like apply in the game. Me being like, I want to stomp so bad. That's completely useless. And obviously this is an extreme example, but the other thing that really annoyed me is that, so we had this great game where he could practice for basically an entire game straight and play the whole time. And he wasted the opportunity. He squandered it because he wasn't focused on learning. He didn't have things in mind he wanted to work on. All he was thinking about was like the social aspect. And so in relation to Dota, like if you want to actually improve at anything, you need to drop the ego. That's just how it is. You're going to lose and it's going to suck. But like the ego is just an implication of not meeting expectations. But let's say the guy you just lost mid to has 20,000 hours. Why do you think you deserve to beat him? Right? Have you done enough work to deserve to beat that guy? Probably not. He's probably played more than you. Or if I lose a game to some guy mid and I also have like 10,000 hours, right? Like I'm not going to be like, wow, nothing you could do. Bro has more hours. But to have an ego and be like, I should have beat this guy mid and now I'm so mad. That's not how you get better. Now you just go look at the replay and see like how this guy beat you is what you should do.
No, the
when
ego
replay still existed.
Gets in the way of so much.
Yeah.
I feel
the ego is not self-serving. That's basically my main point. Like it purely gets in your way and just like griefs your life. I don't know. Like, oh, I wish I should have won. Like, what does that thought even matter? That has nothing to do with Dota or anything that actually happened. Just relating this to the traumatic game really quick. I'm not going to name names, but basically nothing was said to this guy the whole time. And what set him off was as he ran in and died into 5 heroes for the 100th time, which is a classic that I'm sure everyone can relate to. Players just do that where like the enemy team is way stronger and they're 5 in your triangle on a ward and then your teammates just like run in and die. But anyway, so he
don't know how to play side lanes for pickups.
Yes, exactly, which is what we discussed last time. So basically we were trying to tell this guy what we discussed last time, which he died again and he's QoP. And I'm like, you need to like go around the map and like cut some waves, right? Instead of fighting all 5. And then this is the first thing I said to them the whole game. And he goes, shush. This guy's in my party, by the way.
That's terrible vibes.
Which is just like the worst vibes I've ever heard in my entire life. But the thing is like, why is he mad that I said something? It's because of ego, right? Like, don't tell me what to do. I'm the GOAT. You're 0-10 and you need to like, but regardless, I'm not flaming him. I'm saying, here's what you need to do right now in the video game. It's all about the video game.
Yeah. No, if he didn't have ego, he would probably think about what you said.
He probably would have won.
And like actually improve. Yeah. And
he probably would have cut the waves and we would have won.
But
yeah.
I mean, that guy in particular, like, doesn't understand Dota, and I'm just talking about this right now because I think a lot of people, I think there's something to gain from this, but he views Dota like a, I don't know, I'll say like team deathmatch, because he's very good at pressing his buttons and he knows like how to press them on a lot of different heroes in like a good way, but he doesn't think about the macro of Dota at all. He's like micro like 8 or 9k MMR and macro like 2k. Like he literally
Yeah.
just runs at heroes he sees and doesn't think about where we're fighting, what heroes he needs to kill. Um, and
Yeah.
it's just I see that in a lot of Dota players
I think
where they don't think
yeah,
about that. And I think Dota is like a much more macro game than a
yeah.
micro game. I think if I had to pick one, macro or micro skill, I would
Macro for
probably pick
sure.
macro. You'd be a better Dota player if you pick macro.
Yeah, you could just play like ogre and like have good macro or something. Or I don't know. But kind of on that point, yeah, I feel like the micro stuff, I feel like that's much more of like a League of Legends kind of mental.
There's
And the
still
reason
a lot of micro in Dota though. I don't
yeah,
want to
yeah,
like
100%.
discount
I
that.
mean, the execution is important. But all I'm saying is I think especially recently Dota has diverged a lot from a MOBA like League or something or other video games because if you think about it, how many map changes have been making the map bigger? There are more things to do on the map at different times, right? Like that's been all the recent changes. Like before the side jungles, the map was much smaller. Now we have the side jungles. Now we have the TPs and there's the tormentors on the side of the map. So point being is that over the course of time here, Dota has become the map has gotten larger and larger. There's more things to do. And then the nature of a large map is that since it's larger and larger, it's harder to get from sides of the map to each other. So there's more space where you can like spread the enemy out, etc. It's become more of that kind of game. Whereas if you compare that directly to a game like League or something, like the map is like infinitely smaller. There's like nothing fucking
Dude,
happening,
it's
right?
so small in League. Whenever we
Yes,
play
you walk
League and
two
I
feet and
walk
you're
across
at
the
the other
map, it
lane.
takes like 5 seconds.
Yes, in
Yeah.
Dota, it's like the guy the Nature's Prophet shows up behind your tier 2 and like cuts your wave like you're pissed, right? Like
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do about that right now. It's hard.
Yo, what's up, Fatty?
Yeah.
How's it going? I know we said we weren't going to interact with chat,
You
but I
gotta
got to
talk
shout
to
out my
the
boy
goat,
Fatty. He's been an OG for a while
the
now.
goat. Yeah,
I feel like
exactly.
we're kind of in like a presentation mode right now, and
Yeah, a
not
little
like
bit.
just chatting. But
Well, it's
it's
because we were
okay.
talking about an experience that we both had, which I think is
Yeah,
not wise.
that's true. That's kind of tough because when we talk about like those experiences, it just
Yeah, but we
inherently
also already
becomes
like
like we're
debriefed this
explaining something
experience. I
to
think that's
people.
another thing.
Yeah, that's right.
So like
I think every single time it just creates like worse content inherently.
yeah, I
So
agree.
maybe we just can't ever talk until we record the
Well, I mean, the way
podcast.
it started, you literally just like brought it up. Like it was clear, like it was rehearsed, and you wanted to talk about it to me, or like we had already discussed it, but like yeah, I don't know. It was presentation mode from the start. I think that like it was like
It's just a bad frame.
it was a bad move. That's
Okay,
all.
here's something authentic that I wanted to talk to you about, and I wrote it
Okay.
down as surprise topic with the
Yeah.
scared face because I feel
Oh,
like you've
cool.
been scared to 1v1 me mid.
It's true. It's true. He caught me.
Because
What were
when
you
we were
offering to
like
play? What were you gonna play?
Nature's Prophet mid, which
I'm getting
it is
fucked.
kind of
What?
intimidating, but because you said, I guess for some context, back to presentation mode.
No. This is fine though.
Yeah, no. A few years ago when we were like improving the most, I would argue that when I improved the most in my Dota
It's what we
career, it
were
was
one v
when
one.
you and I were 1v1ing like regularly. I remember we used to be in the trenches at like 4 a.m. like 1v1ing SFE SF or like some
Same.
demon
No.
shit.
It would always be the same matchups too. We do like fucking best of 5 of like store member.
Yeah, no, that was hype.
Yeah.
And because you told me recently, you were like, "Yeah, man, I feel like my lane is the weakest part of my mid,"
It's always been the weakest part
and
of my
I
kit, though.
agree
But I
because
should work on it. Yeah.
when I play with like players who I know are worse than you, sometimes they just like stomp their lane mid, and I know you're better than them. But when I play with you, I feel like it's very rare that you stomp your lane. But
Yeah.
you obviously play. I'm not trying to like undermine you as a
We've discussed
player
this
publicly.
before where I mean this is also good just to identify weaknesses in general as a player where it's interesting. I think it comes from I actually don't know what it is. I feel like I've hit that midwit curve where I know of all the possibilities, so I start to get afraid, right? Like I think Jenkins talked about this in the video where like low rank players like just go super aggressive because they don't know everything that can kill them. And
Yeah,
then like low immortal-ish, like let's just say that's like the midwit range, is like you start to be overly passive because you're afraid of all the things that can kill you. And then at like, rank 1, you know the limit. So you are still aware of the things that can kill you, but you play around them properly. But yeah, so my lane is the weakest part of my game. Whenever I dominate games as a mid, it's usually like the 8 to like 16-minute mark where you run around with runes and like collect free support kills on these guys who are like level 3 at 10 minutes. Like that's, or like kill like a carry pre-6. That's when I dominate the game. And you're right that like worse players always stomp the lane better than me. And what happens, I've noticed, is like I've just had so many negative experiences where like I try to be aggressive and either execution's tough, like I mess up a dive, or a big one is like supports TP mid and like stop my dive, or they are there for the water rune, and then I'm being aggressive and I don't get a rune. So a lot of that has just like conditioned me or dissuaded me to be aggressive in lane. Where the thing is, I'm playing to my strength to a certain extent, but I don't think it's a good practice. Where I know that as long as I don't throw the game and I get to the mid game even, I'm gonna win, right?
Which is true, but you can do both. I feel like it's kind of like that's kind of cope for not getting better at the lane.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Because what you're doing is, I feel like you're not pushing.
I'm just trying to neutralize my lane.
Yeah, and what you're not doing is playing to your limits. Because your limit is like you dive the guy and then you see the guy TPing and then you walk back. Yeah. And then at that point you force the TP, and that's really impactful if they don't get anything from the TP. Which you can do. That's been something that I've been trying to work on. But also I feel like you've gotten complacent when it comes to like the denies and last hits in lane.
That's true. I agree with that as well.
I've noticed a really big, because I've been playing a decent amount of Nature's Prophet mid actually, because I flex him carry, and then if my mid laner has a bad matchup, I just offer to switch. And dude, you can really just abuse these.
There's
bots.
Something that feels really bad about laning mid.
In like 5 minutes.
There's, all right, Prophet.
Yeah, true.
Listen, I'm Ember, all right. I'm getting denied. Okay. No, honestly, it's not that bad. But I was gonna say something else that like this. This isn't like some insightful point, but
it doesn't need to be. It's okay.
We're not always giving insight. I know. But something that is like pretty shit feedback about mid in terms of like the way it feels to play is that sometimes you like completely stomp the last hits and denies, and then is part of it like, oh, I own this guy and now he has no game and he's weak, or did I own this guy because he's legend and he just sucks? Because sometimes I'll completely dominate my lane and focus on last hit and denies, and the guy just is bad, and then I don't even like, I'm not even, my brain's not even tricked into giving myself affirmation for the performance of like denying everything, because I just like stomp some legend, and the game, like usually when I'm laning against like some guy like that, like the lane just feels like disturbingly easy, where like the guy's not even contesting creeps.
Well, that's inherently a problem in norms.
Yeah, I guess that's the case. And then the lanes that are super hard, it's like, that's whatever. But I really have situations where I dominate my lane and I feel good about it. But I think that's just the inherent nature of unbalanced norms.
And I think that could improve for you if you and I, 1v1, and I think I want to take a little bit and explain like why I really like 1v1ing just to get better as a player, because I think it has a stigma of like just the cocky guy at the end of the game who's like 1v1 me SF bro, and if I win, like everything I said
it matters for sure
in the game
mid
is validated.
Yeah.
But
it's
even outside of mid, I mean, when I made the bold claim before that I think when I improved the most as a player is when we were 1v1ing, is because it improves your overall lane mechanics, right? And I think that's just so important in Dota, no matter what role you are. I even think that if you play 4 or 5 and you 1v1 mid, like you're going to become a better player, because it just makes you much more comfortable in the Dota engine, but more importantly, it exposes your flaws as a player. Really, like it really just puts a spotlight on them. And so it can be scary, 1v1ing somebody, because there's nothing to hide behind. There's no cope.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Anyways, that's why I'm dodging it. No, I mean, I'm down to 1v1. I just haven't been playing Dota enough to warrant, practice.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And this is also like, treating it as a subject. And holy shit, Fatty gifted a tier 1 sub to Pyne Dota 2. Thank you, Fatty. You're the GOAT, bro.
Fatty.
Shout out, Fatty.
Actually, shout out, Fatty. I'm sub now. I gotta drop the sub emotes. No, that's crazy.
Yeah, I hope he didn't do that earlier and I missed it. Maybe I shouldn't have interrupted the podcast for that. But that was a big deal.
No, that's huge. Thank you,
My
Fatty.
first Twitch sub. Yeah, thank you, Fatty. If you're still here, I don't think he's still here. Is that
your first Twitch sub?
Yeah, I think so.
You didn't have any like during chess or anything?
No, bro, because I had an issue when I was streaming chess. I used to stream chess a few years ago, and I had like a little community.
Yeah.
There's $5 for the 1v1 mid pot. That's so based. That's so based. Oh, I subbed last night. Thank you, Fatty.
Might have to 1v1 on this.
Oh, yeah, because that was a gift,
pod,
and then you subbed last night.
I have to really end off the episode of the pod with a little 1v1.
Wait, that would be hype.
Good lord. I'm gonna get, dude. You're fucking fury on.
My profits are. I mean, I've been playing too, so it's not gonna be easy for you.
No.
But yeah, thank you, Fatty. Damn, I feel really, I feel really warm inside right now.
Yeah, that's cool.
But
anyways, what were you even saying? Yeah, 1v1 mid.
It is about 1v1.
Isolation is based.
How it just makes you a good player. But
yeah,
I was talking about how it makes you a better player no matter what role you play. Damn, I feel like I had something to wrap it up. I feel like I don't remember what I wanted to say, but I still feel like it's coming across as like egotistical.
Bro, just 1v1 me, bro. No, I mean, I don't think it's like that at all, right? As we've discussed, I think that just to lay it all out again, why 1v1s are so important. There's a logical train you should follow, which is that late is the most important part of the game, and that's because it's the earliest, and Dota is a game of resources that snowballs. Like what happens at 20 minutes is dependent on the early game. So
Yeah.
boom, lane is the most important part of the game, established, right? Now, the other argument that we've made many times that you need in order to like follow this logic train is that isolation is better than just doing the thing. Okay. So
I need to show the Dendy fucking emotes that Double Samson just pokes. We're talking about 1v1ing. Sorry to interrupt, but that's really funny.
The Thanos fucking picture is crazy.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Yeah. So isolation is also based in the sense that like the example I always use is that if you're learning a complicated piece on piano, you learn like right hand, then left hand, then together, slowed down, and then eventually you get it up to like, concert level speed and you're able to perform it, right? You didn't just start ripping the song and being terrible at it over and over and over again until you completed it. So treat Dota the same way. If I want to perform a perfect Dota game, what should I start with? This most simple thing, the melody, whatever. I don't fucking know. Sorry, guys. I haven't played piano for many years. Something like that, right? You're going to learn like the main...
is the lane.
No. Yes, sure. Something like that. Exactly.
No. I don't think that's true at all.
But exactly. Like you're going to start with the most simple thing, which is the lane. And it's the most controllable. And 1v1 is the best way to practice that, right? It's an isolated environment where you can get your reps in. It's not easy to get reps in. That's another thing to view stuff as is reps, relating it back to my story.
Yeah.
But if you view stuff as reps, you understand it as practice, as intel, etc. Whereas I feel like the issue with games as well is that it's hard to view a game as a rep. People stake their life on the game, right? They are invested in their own performance in the game. So for them, it's not a rep. It's like a performance.
There's a pretty good concept about this called the learning zone versus the performance zone. And it's just your mentality. When you're in the performance zone, your identity is based on if you win or lose. And when you're in the learning zone, you're just trying to learn.
Is that insane that like it relates to the pod?
Distinction to make. Like, it's
performance zone is garbage.
I'm kind of in the performance zone right now.
Yeah, learning zone where we're just like, that's where our best insights come from. Is it's just a conversation. It's not a performance where I'm like evaluating how I'm doing. But yeah, no, that's really insightful because I really think that like that's what makes isolation so based in general. And I think it's the opposite for a lot of people where they have like performance anxiety about the 1v1s, right? Which is like just twisted and backwards.
Yeah.
But it's I
think there's like between you and I, there's definitely an inherent level of like competitiveness to it where like friendly rivalry. Sure. Like I definitely want to win. And if you like go 10-0 against me, I'm not going to feel good.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's going to feel terrible. That won't happen.
Yeah. But I'm not saying like, damn, I'm stoic and I don't value the performance at all. But like, I think it reveals what the nature of the exercise is, which is its reps, right? Whereas when you play a Dota game, it's hard for people to internalize that this is just reps. And so many Dota games are wasted like that. Like relating it to the polo example, like this guy who rides the bench basically had a full hour of reps, right? And he didn't view it as that. He viewed it as a performance. And what did he learn? Literally nothing, right? He just learned nothing in the whole hour. Yeah. Like he just wasted an hour of reps. So that's what I think you people are doing in Dota. When you queue a game and you don't have things to work on, you're wasting an hour of reps is what you're doing.
Yeah, that's another reason why 1v1s are so good is because you're isolating probably the most important skill in Dota, and you're just like doing it over and over and over.
You can just run that shit back. It's 5 minutes long. You can run it back like
exactly.
Times.
It's 5 minutes. So if you do that for a full Dota game's worth, like 40 minutes, you're doing it 8 times. Versus if you play a full Dota game, you're only doing it once.
And sometimes you mess up the lane like instantly, and then you just don't want to play anymore.
And then the game is just kind of ruined. But
exactly.
in the 1v1, you can do over that. It's really good.
Yeah, you ruin and you just go again. Yeah. Another advocate for has anyone ever listened to our podcast and like played a 1v1 or CS trained after? Like I would say it's like sub 5 people who do that.
Hey, I saw Fatty in the training polygon a few days ago.
I'm counting him. He's one of the goats.
Yeah. No, but even I feel like I talked about this on the last podcast, but a lot of my coaching students, they suck at CSing so much. Maybe I didn't talk about this. And I always give them homework to do training polygon, and I see them on my friends list, and nobody ever fucking does it, man. And then the next time I coach them, they still suck at CSing.
CSing is like, I hate to say it, it's so important. Okay, what's recently been disturbing me, this is probably the most disturbing thing that happens pretty consistently, is I'll play a lane where I'm like not locked in, aka didn't CS train, no reason to be locked in. like expecting myself to perform better than I've been randomly. But I remember I was playing Monkey King Carry this game, and I was stomping my lane. We killed the enemy safe lane like 6 times. I didn't get a single kill. So I'm like 0-2-6. My support's like 6-0 on AA, which is chill. But this whole time as well, I've been missing every last hit. So I'm like straight up triggered.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm
That's
poor.
really annoying.
I'm actually poor.
Yeah. No,
And
I
everybody
feel
thinks
that
we're
because
stomping
from
the
your
lane.
team's perspective, it feels like you're like 5K net worth at 10 minutes.
Exactly. And I'm freaking
Yeah.
out because like I remember like someone takes a kill. I'm like, and I'm getting in the mic like, guys, I need something. Like I'm so fucking poor. And they're just like, what the hell is he talking about? Because like he's like completely stomping his lane. And yeah, I missed every last of that game. And it genuinely, even though I stopped my lane, it ruined my game for like 20 minutes straight. Where like
No, that's interesting too, because I remember that game feeling harder than I thought it should have. Right. And I think a big part of that is because like I was perceiving you as like being a lot more rich and having a better game than I thought. But I remember thinking we were so ahead. And the kills were like 30 to like 5 or 10 or something. And it ended up being like a 70-minute slobber knocker, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And
that was a fun game though.
Yeah, the last hits are just so brutal. I can tell my game is going to be or there are just so many games that you can't really quantify what happened or just felt shit the whole time. And usually the answer is like you just last hit poorly because you can just tell you're missing something. Like you're way weaker than you should be. This happens a lot, especially on mid when you like if you last hit poorly on the first or second wave, then one guy has like bottle in a stick or a null talisman, and you are not getting bottle by 2 minutes. Like,
dude, another thing
terrible.
People undervalue is in particular the first wave.
Yeah.
When you're mid and when you're in the side lane too, it's not a coincidence that whenever I'm 3-0 or 4-0 or like 3-1 or whatever, if I have a good first wave, then I usually have a really good game. And I feel like I don't put as much emphasis as I should on like last hitting those creeps. Like my game depends on it, which it does.
Mm-hmm. I think that, dude, I remember that. I mean, I was just watching Arteezy, I think, and like the way he lanes. I mean, we talked about this, how he makes it look so easy, but he really doesn't ever not contest or miss a last hit or deny. Like, it's crazy how much he does that, and he still manages to take more aggressive trades than like me and stuff like that. Like,
and his efficiency it look easy.
Exactly. He's never wasting any movement. It's like creep, auto stun the guy, back to the creep, deny. Like, it's just incredible.
Where you know what I noticed from really watching him too is there's like, if you draw kind of an invisible circle around the creeps, he's tethered
to the creeps is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. He's tethered to the creeps. That's a really good way to put it.
Yes.
I've noticed that with Quinn too. Like, everything revolves around the creeps. And when I watch worse players play, they're like over chasing. They're going outside that radius. And it really hurts their game.
Because then you're not really doing anything. It's about the creeps, right? Even when they harass, it's like in relation to like the guy trying to last it or something. And so being tethered to the creeps just gives you proximity to what's happening. So tethering is like a league term because they don't have aggro and stuff. So like they're like really particular about like that range next to the creeps about like taking aggro and stuff. But I think it's a nice Dota concept as well, where like being tethered to the creeps, especially, I mean, as a melee or range, just gives you proximity to influence and contest the creeps. And to go outside of that to harass or something is just like kind of a waste of time a lot of the times. Because if you want to chase somebody, there's a pretty high chance that you could just like pressure or deny and force them to walk up instead, right? Like the creeps is an objective that people are forced to walk up for. But yeah, tethering to the creeps is very important for sure.
Yeah, that's a good concept.
Another thing that RTZ does well that I noticed is like he doesn't really. I mean, we talk about tethering to the creeps, but it's not like tethering to like the enemy's range creep behind the wave. Like, I rarely found that he would walk past his melee significantly, right?
Yeah, because if he does that, he's gonna take aggro from the
aggro and
creeps.
stuff like that. Like usually he would like
tethered to like where the melee creeps are fighting.
It's like your allied.
If there's
melee
a dot,
creeps.
it's right there. Yeah,
it's more about your allied creeps because they back you up.
Yeah,
less about the enemy's creeps. But you want to be tethered to the enemy creeps for the sake of last hitting them, but they don't like support you.
I changed my name on Steam recently to /Flow, which
as always,
I think I'm gonna change it back to YouTube /@CrabbyDota because I was watching one of my old videos, and when I was that name, I was just so base.
You were base when that was like the Wind Ranger arc too.
Yeah, that was the Wind Ranger arc. That was
really based. Crabby Flow has not been putting up the same numbers.
No, Crabby Flow has, because
Crabby Flow's fine. No, but youtube.com/CrabbyDota is like literally GOAT.
Yeah, but I put Crabby Flow because, and this happened after I played with the stack and I joined their Discord, and I think we had a lot of like stupid stacks collectively, and we just like played worse than we should have. And
So
I was
you have to delete the flow name and shame.
no. It was not flow before that. And
Oh,
so
this was
the reason
crappy.
why I
See.
think to like kind of centralize this insight, why I don't like to join Discord with stacks is because I think joining Discord just breaks my flow state. And when I'm not in Discord, I get in this like trance, like, I think it literally is a flow state when I play Dota, and I play so much better.
I don't.
Um,
Yeah, I agree. I
so I
don't.
put flow in my name to just remind
Yeah.
myself of that. And also,
Yeah.
when I start interacting with my team a lot, it also breaks my flow state. So I'm noticing that a lot of these things that we've talked about independently that make us play worse, for me, they're things that break my flow state because it makes me think about something that's not the game. And
Yeah.
so I've just been trying to flow more.
Yeah.
And I've been playing better.
I would argue, or I don't believe people who think that they play better in Discord. That's basically my heinous take.
I mean, some people can multitask better than others, just like biologically. I'm really bad at multitasking personally, so maybe that like makes me think about this more than other people.
No,
but
I
agree with what you're saying, but I also think that certain people can multitask more than others.
Yeah,
When
I mean,
you're
I
in
agree
Discord,
with that.
you're like low key multitasking.
I just don't buy that anybody plays because people be like, "Damn, bro, but stay in Disc and we can synergize." Or some shit, right? Like, I just don't buy that Discord is more helpful or you perform better in Discord at all compared to not in Discord.
It's not,
right?
for sure.
And I think that another thing, this is me personally, if we're talking about flow state, something about flow state that I think is like a prerequisite to being in the flow state is that 100%
Thank
of
you,
your...
Double Samson, for the Prime sub. Really appreciate that. Sorry, I feel like
No, you're
this
good.
is
Thank
going
you.
up on YouTube, but I want to shout him out on
appreciate
YouTube
that.
too. So I really appreciate that. I feel warm again.
Yeah.
All right, what were you saying?
Something about flow state. Oh yeah.
It feels powerful to be on the other side of the interruption.
Yeah,
Just
that's pretty fucked.
Because people love to see that when we interrupt each other on the
exactly.
podcast.
They're just waiting for it. Yeah. So when you're in, or people think that like, oh, we can synergize better, blah blah blah. They want you to be in Discord, but for me, a prerequisite to flow state is 100% of my attention is on Dota. Right. That's a prerequisite to entering the flow state. If we're like building the flow state formula. So my issue, it's just funny talking about this because we've already talked about this a million times, but it's like, let me rehash it with like a different analogy for the 100th time.
Analogies are good.
Yeah. But to enter the flow state, a prerequisite is having 100% of your attention on Dota. Inherently, I don't think Disc keeps your attention on Dota. Now you may be like, holy shit, but we're talking about Dota in the Discord. But the thing similar to streaming right now, like streaming removes it's going to be difficult to enter a flow state if you're streaming because you're cognizant of having an audience, right? As a human being. And so at least this is the way my brain's wired. When I'm cognizant of an audience, I want to entertain or be an entertainer. I'm going to complain more about things that aren't a big deal. I'm going to over exaggerate. I'm going to emphasize these things. I'm not going to be thinking about the Dota. Whereas when I'm in Dota, so inherently that takes me out of flow state, right? Like I'm trying to be an entertainer I'm in Disc. I'm going to complain more about things that are annoying me and stuff because I'm going to bitify it. I'm going to make it funny. But when I'm in Dota and somebody talks to me and their like little icon pops up like in the corner and it's like anti-mage, like it doesn't break my flow state. Like the person talking to me isn't like my friend in Discord. It's anti-mage right there.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think that's a huge part of it for me.
That reminds me, because when I start interacting with my team a lot, or at least when I go wrong when I interact with my team, is when I think of them, and this sounds bad, but it's when I think of them as the person and not the hero.
Yes.
Right? Because when I think of them as the hero, I'm just thinking about the Dota. But when I think of them as like an actual person sitting behind the computer, I get especially really if it's your triggered.
Friends. No, especially if it's your friends.
Yeah, because I obviously humanize my friends a lot more than like a random person.
Yeah, exactly. You're in a stack and something like just something about it when I'm like talking to the individual instead. It's like I'm clowning with the individual, but like what I need to do is lock in and coordinate a gank with my Tusk, not clown with them. Right. So yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Tusk doesn't have time for humor. Tusk just wants to go punch the enemy
Tusk,
carry.
For some reason, the Tusk players are usually joking around. I don't know what's up with that, but
I think that's good vibes when my Tusk players joking
yeah,
around.
yeah, yeah.
Something about Tusk. If it's like
Something
my
about melee
Lion
fours.
joking
No,
around,
something about
yeah,
melee
melee
fours. I
fours.
don't mind if they're it's something about them, but like I don't mind if they're having a good time. But if my Lion's having like a good time, he needs to lock the hell
No,
in.
you know what it is because I want my melee four to just like get in there. And usually when
Yeah, I
someone's
just
like
want him to
clowning
like
around,
yeah,
they
I
just
want him to
like
be
go in.
swagging out. Exactly.
And even if they die, like it's all
But
good.
my worst nightmare is my Lion thinks he's swagging out. I need my Lion to lock the hell in and hide in the trees. Like that's the difference. If my like Earth Spirit's clowning on Mike and stuff and just like goofing around and he's like rolling into 5 enemies, I honestly am okay with that. But yeah, something about like the backline support. I'm just hard on the backline supports. I've realized. Like maybe it's because they're
I
more
think they're
popular
worse,
and
bro. I
bigger
think they're a
feeders
lot
play them.
worse
Yeah,
than
usually people who
melee
play melee
supports.
fours like are good.
I think
But
melee
yeah,
support players understand that it's like they usually understand their role, but
yeah.
backliners don't for whatever reason. This
It,
reminds me, we could
no.
talk about
It's just
the
backliners or feeders.
Excalibur tweet from before. The way to play spellcasters in a fight, squishy backliners, cast your spells, don't auto attack at all, and go sit
This
in the fog.
I also
Go
feel like
hide. Go hide.
yeah,
People don't do that, and then they just die after one round of spells. And that's
yeah, yeah,
usually
yeah.
not impactful enough to like carry a
I don't
game.
even remember if this tweet was particularly worded like to spellcasters. Obviously, I understand if you're a carry, you're going to auto attack more. But I think 80 carry.
80 carries.
Hey, we
Yo.
played League last night. What can you do, guys? Hey, what can you do? My bad. Yeah, it's over. Viewers dropped to negative 2 billion. Shit. What was I even saying? Oh
I
yeah,
did
if you're
not
a carry,
enjoy
you're
that league we played, by the way. Just
yeah, of
to
course, it was terrible.
but yeah.
That was some of the worst
What are you
league
gonna say?
ever. Why did I play
Talk
that
about
shit?
that. Shit
Game
was
sucks.
awful.
Anyways,
I was not. I should not have played because I wasn't feeling
that shit
passionate
was
about it. That applies to Dota as well.
garbage video game.
When I like half want to play, I just shouldn't really play.
But I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, yeah. You're gonna attack more as carry
Excalibur
and stuff
tweet.
as well. Like, but like if you're a life stealer, you could view it the same way. Like, use rage, use infest, wait for rage and infest. Right?
Yeah.
It's almost every single hero in Dota is very powerful in relation to their spells, and that's what's making them powerful.
This
So,
concept is just
yeah.
more enhanced with spellcasters.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I just like the mental
on Ursa
of it.
as well. I blink in, I kite, wait for blink.
Yes, exactly. I like the mental of it, which is like you use your cooldowns and then you just wait for them. Why would you do something else, right? Like if I'm tiny and every time I combo I kill somebody instantly, like the worst thing I can do is stay in there and hit and like lose the fight. And I think a lot of people do that. There's a dude. This actually, I mean, we've discussed this a million times as well, of course. But this topic just,
about
this topic gets me riled up, man. This topic gets me riled up because people just don't understand nuance and kiting in the fights at all. And as we've discussed, when you kite, you instantly win the game. If we're talking about what we talked about last episode with like the Monkey King arena or like the Grubby, you move in your units and then you move them out. Like everybody does it where they kite out. And so often your team just hates that shit, man. Oh, I just realized I talked about this monkey thing on the last one, but it's me jumping in the trees as monkey. And my line is like, dude, monkey, keep hopping in trees, you useless fuck. It's like, dude, come on. I hate kiting because people get mad at you,
bad,
man.
Yeah. This ties into what we were talking about before about how like thinking about how you're being perceived makes you play a lot worse. That's a prime example of it. When I kite in the fight on Ursa too, like people will ping me like mid-fight.
That's why I want to be muted, is I don't want to hear that, man. I don't want to hear that.
Exactly.
I just want to kite.
Me get in my head.
Exactly. Then I feel forced to like go in. Every time I feel forced to go in and then I go in after I kite out and like feed, it's just that's like one of the most triggering.
Yeah. Prime example of what we're talking about right here. Double Samson. I got so much better at initiators when I started looking at my blink cooldown for second initiation.
Yeah, dude. Blink is a pretty misunderstood
item. I really like the concept of second initiation because that's like exactly how you should be thinking about it.
Yeah, and another
go hide
great
and wait again to go in.
Another great thing about this, I feel like if you get like, let's say like below Immortal, if you're playing a team fight and you get a second initiation, you blink a second time, I'm pretty sure you've instantly won the fight pretty much. Because I'm sure like the Archon Slobber Knocker is like everybody blinks directly melee range and just like fights to the death.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I was gonna say is that if you get a second blink, like you're gonna win the game instantly.
Oh, we have a really good question.
Put it up on the screen. Or I'll put it up on the screen. Oh, wait, that is a great. In our MMR, were we ever hard stuck, or what obstacles did we overcome?
You can talk about
know.
yours, and then I'll.
Well, here, I mean, we played a lot together, so honestly, it's difficult for me to remember. I don't know if we were like super hard stuck. The thing is, though, we were improving consistently the whole time, right?
Well, I think you and I have a unique situation because we would like duo together a lot.
Yeah, and so we played in like bursts, if that makes sense. Like we like played in
But we
one
would
big
improve
burst
outside
from.
of those bursts.
Well, yeah, we would play it like in one big burst from like legend to ancient, and then we had like another one from ancient to divine, and then eventually we hit immortal. Or was it ancient to divine? Or there was
Hold
like a
on, I
couple.
need to figure my shit out and then we can talk about, or you can talk, but I'm gonna
Okay,
I'm
hold
I'm
on.
gonna
I'll help you
disconnect. So
out.
this
No,
is
no,
all
no.
this
I'll
is
help
all
you out.
you.
I'll help you out. I'll help you out.
Bro's afraid to talk alone.
No, well, I need you to talk about this to be honest,
Yeah,
because
that's true.
I don't really
Yeah,
remember
okay.
the full
I do
storyline here.
remember. This will be an interesting anecdote because I remember I had like a crash out period, and this is so
Jesus.
Pyne and I, we've been playing Dota for a long time and we've known each other since middle school, but we didn't really start
Yeah.
taking Dota seriously until after we both graduated from high school. Which I think we were pretty good before, but we like never played ranked. Like I didn't think about it from
Well,
that
what were the
perspective.
climbs before that though? The climbs before we graduated was
No,
up
we
to
didn't have
immortal.
any climb before we graduated high school, dude.
We were
We
not
got immortal in
legend.
college.
We were not legend
No,
though, were
dude,
we?
you were 3K MMR and I was 4K MMR when we
At the
graduated high
start of
school. You
oh
were
my
3K MMR
god. Oh right, because we were still
when
playing
we
with like Devo and
graduated high
David and them.
school.
That was like
Yeah.
actually the Giga Scrub
That was back
games.
when party MMR was separate than normal
Holy shit!
MMR.
Wait, we were doggy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
but no,
crazy.
I think we were better than our MMR, Copium. It was just that we didn't play
I
ranked.
don't
But
know. We
anyway,
were pretty bad back then.
so I remember I had a crash out period where I just like viewed ranked really negatively, and I was Ancient 1 at this time. And I started playing like Naga and Phantom Lancer mid. Cause I thought I could just like play mid and farm and like cheese everyone. And then I dropped to Legend. So that was a really
You're
low point
like
for me.
trolling.
No,
What are you
yeah,
doing?
exactly. I was tweaking really hard.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know why I did that. That
What's
was
that?
back when I was a mid player. I thought my primary role was going to be mid.
I
Oh,
got a
but I
great
mean, I
pick,
used to play like Invoker and Tinker. Tinker is still my most played Dota hero.
which is crazy to me.
Yeah,
You haven't played him
still.
like in
I haven't played him in years.
like
Well, you and I like
yeah.
learned together a lot, so I think that
I think that's a big
helped.
thing.
But this is how my improvement happened. Is it doesn't really feel like I'm improving from like day
Hmm.
to day,
I agree with that.
and then all of a sudden I'll gain a bunch of MMR at once when you and I would duo. That's like kind of what happened when I
I
look
also
back.
think the improvement is gradual and it's hard to tell when you've improved at certain aspects and then one day I'm relating this to real life once again or improving at other things because for me it's water polo, that's like the sport I play, and I didn't notice any improvement. It's pretty gradual, and then I think I'm like a much different player than I was a year ago. So what I think it is in terms of, I don't think we were ever hard stuck, but there were times where we weren't climbing as much. And I think the way we climbed is we just trusted the process, right? And we also stuck to our formula, etc. And the times we weren't climbing, it's like you're either not doing that or you're just not playing enough games. Um,
I think
yeah.
a really big thing is it takes a lot to climb. Like people you have to play really well consistently. And that's not necessarily easy. So I think for me a big obstacle has been like mental, that
Mm-hmm.
I need to be very present in my games. And when I'm not present and when I'm thinking about other things, that really affects me.
Yeah.
Um
You know, this is just such an interesting question because, like,
there's so
I
much
feel
to talk
like
about.
neither of us are even answering the question
Yeah.
because I don't know how. It's a tough question, but it's a great opportunity to just talk about like things that I find difficult when
Yeah.
playing
Well,
ranked games.
there are multiple obstacles. Like a big one for me was just finding the right heroes for myself. So it took a lot of experimentation. And then I'll find usually one or two heroes a patch where I can have like an 80% win rate. But I learn new heroes. I don't just cycle through the old ones. And there are heroes that I try to learn, but they just never really click. And that's okay.
Hmm.
But that really helps, is finding something that I know works for me. And I know that no matter what happens, I'm going to have a good game.
I
And if
think,
I know that, last thing, that no
yeah,
matter what happens, I'm going to be powerful in the Dota game, then I know I can have a 60% plus win rate. And that's what happens for me.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
think the
yeah.
willingness to learn new heroes was an obstacle before that's held me back.
But I
Um,
have that actually right
yeah,
now.
you have that right now.
Yeah, I don't learn
You'd
new heroes.
stick to
My
your
two
Ember,
heroes, and literally just Ember. I can play Ember every patch. I'm basically a one trick
but
these
there's
days.
nothing wrong with that because it still works for you.
I mean, that
But
hero's just been good
for me,
forever.
what happened is I would have a formula and then
Yeah.
it would get nerfed, and then it wouldn't
I
work
think,
anymore, and I would have to find
yeah,
another one.
exactly. I think what it is, well, I think carry is like really meta dependent in general, but I also think this doesn't really relate to the question at all. This is more about like relationship to Dota in general. Is that what you do really well? Is that you have a great relationship with the patches,
Yeah,
where
that's a good
you
way to put
have
it.
like a incubation period at the start of the patch where you're open to trying a bunch of random shit in norms and finding heroes that you think are interesting. Like usually you select a couple heroes that you find interesting and a couple of them fall off and you get like one for the patch and then you like hone the formula. And then what I like about that is that you're attuned to the patch, meaning that in order to find this formula, it necessitates reading the patch, finding interesting heroes, having ideas and applying them, and then you find your formula, right?
Yeah,
So compared to a lot of other players, you are usually more attuned to the patch, whereas they're just like playing the game.
that's true. And it's funny, I feel
I
like
think that helps you a lot.
coming from you, Fatty, because I know you're kind of like Pyne, where you have like a few heroes, and I feel like you kind of only play those heroes, unless something changed in the last like year. But
Yeah,
I remember that's how you used to be, and it wouldn't really matter of the patch. You would just play like Fatty's a Tinker player actually, like
yeah,
Meepo and Tinker.
beast.
Um,
Yeah, that's like mega cheese. Jesus Christ.
yeah.
Holy.
No, he plays Ember too. He
I
plays
mean,
Ember
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah, of course. But no, I mean, that's robust, though. That's really, really good. Meepo's sick.
Yeah,
Um,
but I think that's big because also through that experimentation, I learned how to play against what's good in the patch because I'm trying out everything that's good in the patch.
yeah. Because, I mean, just for example, on this patch, like I was attuned to the patch pretty late because I'm just playing my same heroes and there's a lot of different item changes and there is new stuff to them. But like, I think people who like got on Ember at the start of this patch because of like the trickle down from high MMR before, you know, like replays don't exist, like they had this idea, like, holy shit, Ember Spirit's so broken. I'm going to buy the Orb of Corrosion and like press Slight, right? Which is like what's insane this patch. Whereas like I'm just playing another game of Ember in the millions of patches. So like I'm not like attuned to that idea in the patch because I read the patch notes probably. I mean, I still read the patch notes, but since I'm not willing to try new stuff, usually it's just like I'm less attuned to the patch in general. So I think it's a good skill.
Yeah,
So I think that helps you in your relationship to the patches where like you're quick to find your formula and you're also engaged with what's meta. Um, Back to the question, I suppose, right? What was another one? Okay, another thing I had about this is more about trusting the process, but just because you're improving at a skill doesn't mean you're going to win more in the moment, right? Because I played CM recently and you would find CM to be a pretty easy hero.
no,
And
we
the
had an
first
awful
game, I
lane.
like genuinely ran it down so hard.
That was
I
kind
just
of a
like,
rundown. I feel like we should
no,
have
no,
won that
no.
lane.
You like didn't say anything that like heinous after, and you're like, that just felt tough. And I definitely just went like 0-5 on CM and just inted. And you wouldn't think CM is hard. Like the spell casting isn't hard, but like for me at least, and this is what we've discussed before, and some people might disagree with this. I think the mental RAM is significant. And when I'm playing a new hero, my mental RAM is being taken up by thinking about how to press Frostbite, which shouldn't be taking mental RAM at all, right? And CM also has like the glacial guard now where like you shield your allies and you shield yourself for double. So let me hit the 4-man Nova on the wave and me. Like that's what I'm thinking about when I'm playing CM. The fucking
Rage
first CM.
takes 14 with the follow, Jeffrey.
Holy.
What's up, man? Good to see you.
But
Sorry, I
but
interrupted
like
you.
yeah, exactly. I'm thinking about like that bullshit, and I'm telling you, like the pro guy isn't thinking about like how to cast his spells on CM. So if you relate this to improving or like overcoming obstacles when you're improving at the game, like just because you're improving at aggroing, for example, like let's say that's a mechanic you're working on for like 10, 15 games straight, you might be losing more and then it becomes internalized and then you start winning, right? And that might be when you shoot up MMR. And then the other thing is like you might have to combo together like a bunch of these small things. Not that aggro is small, but like I don't know, being on top of the 2-minute water rune right when it spawns and like stacking a camp at a certain minute or like making this rotation. It might take 3 of those things plus internalizing them to where you don't have to think about it for you to like shoot up a bunch of MMR. So I think you just have to keep trusting the process, keep improving.
Yeah,
Do your
that's
due
an
diligence
idea.
watching your replays.
Limiting my hero pool is, I would say, an obstacle for me. It took me a long time to grasp that idea. And it really helps. Also, shout out Air1212 for the follow. That was 3 hours ago. So I apologize, I missed it. I need to enable
I don't have
alerts.
my OBS open. What was I even saying?
But I mean, yeah, I
We're
wouldn't
just
say
on
that
this rant, but
it's a great rant, man.
yeah, it is. It is.
I mean, I wouldn't say that I've been hard stuck. It depends how you define hard stuck. I think there have been periods where I don't climb. So I guess maybe I have been hard stuck for, a couple weeks or a month or something. What
It's
rank
when,
was I
yeah,
was I hard stuck at? Honestly, there were multiple. Like I said, and I think I'll put it more succinctly now. What
yeah,
happens for me is usually when I start playing ranked, I plateau at the same rank for a while, and then I shoot up in MMR and I start winning every game. So I think that happened for me at like Ancient, Low Ancient, High Legend. It happened for me at Low Divine, and I think it also happened for me at Low Immortal. Um,
yeah.
until I hit my MMR now,
I also
7K.
think that what was I gonna say? The improvement is like, okay, for example, when you shoot up an MMR, it's like it felt like something clicked, right? Like a lot of times, oh, like a concept clicked or my formula clicked, but that click is the result of like improving at that small scale 10 or 15 games in a row, right? So I think the honestly the biggest issue that we have had to overcome is just like not trusting the process, not queuing more, not continuing to learn. Because another thing is when I queue, but I just like brainlessly queue just to play rather with the intent of improving, then that's when I plateau because your skill isn't getting any better, quite literally, right? And I think that like other than that, but it's hard to be like locked in on learning mode 24/7. But whenever we're in that, usually it's just like free climb, free improve. If you did, obviously replays don't exist now and stuff like that, so it's a little bit more difficult.
Well, you can watch
But
your own replays.
yeah, exactly. You can record your own
But
game. Oh yeah, you can watch
yeah,
your own
that
replays.
that's another good shout for an obstacle I had is when
Just keep
I
improving.
when I focus on improving, like the MMR will
Yeah,
come. But if you focus on other things, it won't. I
yeah.
mean, MMR is a very like uh complex like thing,
It's
and
just accurate, is what it is, though. But like,
yeah,
you
well,
can't
a
worry
lot
about
of
it.
variables go into like you climbing or not. And
Yeah,
especially because it's a team-based game where you can only control your impact.
yeah. But I still
It's
think that the
very
MMR like pretty much always accurately represents your skill. I think.
I don't know.
Um,
I mean, if I queue 200 games and you queue 10 games, my MMR is going to inherently be more accurate than yours.
sure, I agree with
You
that.
know, so
All right, thank you. Like there it is. Obviously, easier said than done. But yeah, I just think that like I don't know. The improvement's constant. Another thing that I struggle with in general, not just in Dota, is when you actually accomplish something. Like, let's say I'm working on a skill and I accomplish it, or like I want to learn like a hero this patch and like it gets into the pool. Um, it's so easy to get content with that, but it's like cool. You added one small thing onto the next small thing to add, right? And it's
yeah.
just you need to chain together thousands of those to keep
Dude, do
climbing in
you
Dota.
do you have anything you're working on right now in Dota,
No,
like anything in particular? Because I think
no,
I thought about that for myself, and I don't
I'm
really
not.
have anything, which I think is a
Which is
great.
terrible.
Yeah, like I remember before, back when we climb and stuff, there would always be something that I'm
See, I
thinking
had
about.
games where I focus on an individual thing, but I'm not like working on anything in particular. Now, what do I think I should work on? I laning,
Yeah, what do you think you should work
laning.
on?
I should just do 1v1s. I think that would be how I improve at laning. Another concept that I could just focus on for like 10 games straight is being aware of support rotations and being aggressive with my supports and being defensive away from their supports. I could literally do that for like 20 games straight, improve. Another one that I could work on that's Ember specific is using my slight every time it's up.
Yeah, that's big.
Past level 3, past level 5.
I think it's
Um,
really easy on a hero like that to not
to
use it
like
for
give
like
it like
one
a
or two
second.
seconds,
Yes,
but even
I think
so,
it's
it makes a
chill.
big difference. It makes a
Because
big
the other thing
difference.
is like you're waiting for the perfect one because you don't want to slight like the whole wave and him and all
No,
this
just send
stuff.
that shit.
But like if that's the case, because the other thing is like a lot of times you like to get the double slight, but like against melees, for example, on Ember, what that means is that every 6 seconds I should run melee range and auto slight the guy for 3 hits and then run away. Right? And like I can put as many or as little creeps as I want in the circle. So that I don't kill them and accidentally grief my CS. But I had a game where I focused on that past level 5, where I was just like running at this Earthshaker, sliding him all over the map, and then like past 6, I would like put my Remnant and follow him to the camp and slight him more. And the guy had like 0 game, like he literally just had
Yeah.
no game.
I think that's a perfect example of something that you should focus on. And the example of like, oh, I should be more aggressive and defensive based on supports is a little bit more nebulous.
Yeah,
But I still think it's good. It's just kind of harder. It's harder to check yourself, you know? It's or maybe not because
what it
you
is
can say like
well,
play at the
yeah.
rune if I have a support and don't play if I don't have a support, right? That's what you mean.
Well, okay, if you want to distill it down to like a literal skill, it would be like at 540, check the map. And I
Yeah.
need
Okay.
what the yes, distill down is the
I think
actual
saying
skill.
that is a lot
Yeah.
better than saying be aggressive or defensive
Yeah,
based
I
on
agree.
supports,
I
because
agree.
that's too
The
vague.
literal mechanical thing I need to do is 20 seconds before every rune, I should, and if you want to make it like as literal as possible, I should know the location of all 4 supports or have an idea. I should look at where both my supports are. I can see that. And then I should look if I see both enemy supports. If not, now I have an idea of where they're going. I want to know like the location of all 4 supports before I consider what I'm doing at the rune.
Yep. I think
Because
that's
right
a
now,
perfect
because that's not in my
way to
mental loop.
improve.
At 540, what I'm doing is I'm putting my obs that's late as hell on the ward, and then I'm like hoping he didn't see it with a sentry, and then I'm like putting a remnant on the one late and running to the other one blind and like getting destroyed by their support is what I'm doing. That's my mental loop at the root.
Yeah, no, that's not good.
So actually, another thing about improving is like distilling it down to like stuff that's quite literal, because a lot of people can hide, including myself right there, can hide behind like nebulous ideas. Like I just have to like be cognizant of support movement on the map. It's like, what the hell does that even mean?
You need to boil it down to something
right?
else beside that.
Because that's what I'm doing. But what am I mechanically doing with my body, with my eyes on the monitor, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to look at my mini map at 540. I'm going to get
basic
this information
as it gets. I see we have some new viewers, so say hello in chat if you're new. Don't be afraid. We don't bite. We're doing a little Q&A right now, so you can, if you have a question, throw it up.
We might get to another question eventually.
Yeah, I mean, this question's so deep.
Yeah.
But
it's a good opportunity.
I mean, we're kind of not really answering it anymore,
exactly, but it's good.
What I was going to say is something for me to improve on is it's actually similar to yours, but going to the runes as a carry, like the early power runes, I think is something that would improve my game a lot. And I mean, BSJ made a video where in it he's talking about how a lot of really high MMR carries are checking like the going to the 8 to 10 minute power rune if they want to fight.
Can I distill this in reverse to the too broad concept?
Yeah.
Which is this is a thing I think that cores don't do enough that aren't mid, which is that you're really powerful, especially compared to supports in the game, right? Because you're going to be hitting level 6. How many supports are like level 2?
Yeah, exactly. They're
especially
just free
the
snacks,
feeders, right?
They're just
you see
snacks.
the feeders, yeah. So yeah, exactly. And mid, it's more encouraged because like the supports come to you and give you this free snacks. But yeah, exactly. As cores in general, you're way stronger than these supports, especially in the early game before they hit 6. When supports hit 6, they just like obliterate you for the next like 15 minutes.
What the power rune is it's just a good excuse to fight if you want to fight. Like it's just a way to exert your power over the game if you feel powerful. And if you're powerful and you don't do that, you're like sacrificing something.
Also, another thing,
missing a power spike.
People don't like to play for their teammates, but if you go there looking to fight because you're strong and you don't get a fight and you lost some efficiency, your mid got the rune, right? It's either you fight or your mid's getting the rune, right? Because they got to contest.
Yeah, so you're having,
Yeah, so it's significant impact regardless. So if you want to fight, I mean, we've discussed this before, you should go to mid, not just like walk there and, sit on the lane and farm the creeps together, but like, especially during the runes, it's just a guaranteed place where there will be action or you benefit. That's the point of objectives, right? There's guaranteed action or you benefit. So you have if you go to objectives and you want to fight, you win-win.
Yeah.
Unless you lose the fight.
But that's another reason why like executing on a wave is strong, is because the action is you kill the enemy hero on the wave if it's hitting their tower, I guess, for some context. And then the benefit, if nobody shows, is you get the tower. So you're winning the game if you're doing that.
Yeah, that's why executing on objectives as well that you want to play around is super important. That's something that that's another thing that I haven't been, sticking to the formula or trusting the process on, is like doing the proper order of objectives, where the map feels way less clean these days, where your team doesn't like go like tier 1 bot tower, tier 1 or like tier 1 safe lane tower, tier 1 mid tower into the Roche, into the tier 2s. Like I feel like now, I don't know, tier 1 towers seem to be staying up longer. People are worse at sieging it. This is just my experience in the games. I don't know if you would agree with this, but it used to be like a formula.
No, I do.
10 minutes. It's less of a formula. The whole map is boomed.
People aren't doing the tormentor till like 21 minutes. It's usually like really uncontested.
Yeah, like the map movements aren't clean, and I don't know. That's tough as well, because like I've been afraid to like do like the safe lane dives where I dive the enemy carry, but because I used to do that all the time because that was the formula, right? Like you get a rune, you just dive the enemy carry. And I forgot why, because like now these days I've been afraid of like counter ganks and like the enemy mid TPing and it being bad. But the thing about a fight under their tier 1 tower is that if you win, you take the tower, and if you lose, they get nothing.
Yeah.
That's what I've also not been. That's why those fights are so good. That's why the order of objectives exists, is because
Playing to win. A lot of people just play not to lose.
Exactly. Like, let me go dive their carry as Ember with a rune and like attack the tower. And if the enemy mid doesn't TP, your tower is mine. If the enemy mid TPs and I have a rune, then I'm stronger. And let's say I did it without a rune and I'm Ember, I would just tell my team like I'm forcing a TP and then I like remnant away. But like the other thing that you have to consider, even if I don't win the fight, even if I don't get the tower, to defensively TP there as the guy, let's say the enemy mid is stronger. I have ruined his timing for the next minute because he TP'd to defend my play and I'm the weaker guy attacking his tower. He wants to attack my tower, right? And then I have to TP, and then I feel like shit. So,
yeah. I
not
feel like we didn't answer this fatty question. Like,
no, not at all. Enough. No, just not at all.
What obstacles did you overcome?
Once again, I think it's just a matter of practice and valuing the small things, remembering how you got there. Just to throw a bunch of random ass buzzword phrases at you.
Just list all the platitudes.
But no. Okay. So
a bunch of small things. Remember how you got there. Like mental. Don't tweet.
Okay. Remember how you got there is just like I'm relating that to improvement right now. Where like
that's a big one.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't been remembering how I got there, but like you get there by like focusing on the small things, by having a plan and thinking about literal things, and just select one thing. Right. And when you're done with that thing, select another thing. Don't stop. I think that's where I struggle is I just like get complacent with my gameplay. And it's just interesting because like sometimes I don't have the ego and it's like super base and I'm just here to improve. And sometimes I'm just like, yeah, we're just going to stomp some Gnomes today. We're going to stomp some Renkas. I'm just going to queue it up. And like whenever I'm in that state, you're just plateauing like just quite blatantly, obviously, because your skill won't be improving. The resources are all there. I think that's the biggest issue in the Dota community, right? People don't use the resources. They don't watch their replays. They don't last hit trainer. I haven't been last hitting or doing last hits, like just all this stuff. If you literally do that every day, it's like any other thing that you have to practice. Like you're going to improve. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think for me, just thinking about it, we've been on this question for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But I mentioned this before, but my personal biggest obstacle, I think where I like griefed answering this question is I was trying to answer it like for you, Fatty, instead of just like making it personal to me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's what you asked. You asked like about our obstacles, not what can you do. But it's just been mostly mental for me. Like I'm a very egotistical player and I struggle with like attaching my identity outside of Dota to my Dota play. So, and that makes me play worse because I know like subconsciously or whatever, if I have a bad game, I'm going to feel bad about it after. So there's all this unnecessary weight. And for me, if I play very present and like whimsically and light, thanks for the thorough answer nonetheless. Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, it is a really interesting question. But if I play without all that weight, I play extremely well. And if I'm, like in the flow state, I think that's holding me back more than, or that has held me back in the past more than like my actual skill.
I agree with that too.
But that's not cope. Like I've also been in phases where I use that as cope, like to not play ranked or thinking that I should be above my rank. But all of this comes together to form your MMR. So it is very relevant.
And you can practice on it, or you can practice mental as well by playing, right? That can be something you can focus on. The same as like something mechanical.
Yeah, because when I play tense, it's just I make so much.
No, I agree with that. Like when I
feels like I play from like a scarcity mindset or something. Like I try to force plays, and this relates to
you're making like the trades too or like when I do that as well, I make the trades too literal. Where like I try to force this play with this certain outcome instead of just like playing at the limit and seeing what happens. And I also try to like prevent bad things from happening. The games that I feel really good is like I'm just on mid. Sometimes I'm diving the guy. Sometimes we trade 1-for-1 and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's good. But like, I'm not like calculating like a perfect dive incoming, like, holy shit. But yeah, exactly. When I try to like prevent, like if I don't go for the aggressive play, because I'm trying to prevent like the nightmare scenario where it's like the enemy sport TPs and I like just feed into the tower.
That's a big problem for me as a player in general. It has been like passivity, like not being aggressive enough. And whenever I try to push my limits, at all, it usually works out for my benefit.
A huge, I agree. A huge concept that I think we've honestly been engaging more with recently, so we're still working on this, is knowing when you're committed. And that doesn't include just in team fights. I actually was just thinking, understanding when I'm committed on the map versus just in a space. Like, because a lot of the times you were like in the example where I'm like running at some Earth Shaker, like farming and like slighting him. I'm not committed to this space. I'm just attacking him, right?
Yeah, it's a great concept.
Whereas like in the past before, I'll be like, let's make a play on this Earthshaker and commit right there in front of the tower. And then you bring your whole team in a smoke and you attack this Earthshaker and his whole team TPs and you wipe. And it's like, you didn't need to, you can still be aggressive on the map and learn to not be passive without having to like commit to plays, right? I can just attack people on the map. I can play in their space. I think that's something that I'm learning a lot more. Where also like mid rotations, a lot of the time the goal of the rotation is just to kick a guy out. I haven't been doing that as much, like just kicking the carry out.
Yeah, dude, I feel
People
like
haven't been doing
ironically, you and I, when we were climbing from like ancient to divine, we would like I remember what we would focus on the most was like invading the enemy jungle and just being okay like farming their space.
Yeah, we would just farm
like
half the map, and we would like draw the L on the map, like we got all this, we got all this.
That was so based.
And the enemy carry would like show top, and like we wouldn't even kill him. We just like go. I just like walk there, and we like kill the tower.
Yeah, because we know if we kick him out, he has nowhere to go.
Yeah, we haven't been focusing on that
Dude,
as well.
what the hell? That was literally
Dota concept's coming.
MMR.
No, it's crazy. The Dota concept's literally.
We just ward and take control of an area, and you farm it, and the enemy can't farm it.
Yeah, exactly.
But low key, never mind. Actually, never mind, because that's harder to do now because the map's bigger. So they'll find farm.
Yeah, but the whole point is you still go take their farm.
Yeah,
dude. A lot of our games have been like straight Yongle. It hasn't been that bad. Every patch is straight Yongle.
A lot of our teammates.
We haven't talked about jungling in a minute.
Fuck jungling.
Yeah, exactly. I think they killed jungling, to be honest. The camps are so damn strong. Dude, the water camps
also really far apart.
I don't understand the water camps, like, because those things just are really strong. Am I insane for thinking that?
I mean, I play good jungling heroes, so I don't think they're strong.
They're stronger than the other camps, though, no?
Yeah, I think they are.
The water ones? Dude, especially when they're, like, fully grown up.
Logs.
The fully grown up one
well, those are ancients. Those are just straight ancients.
Are those ancients, really?
I mean, they give a lot of gold.
Okay, they're ancients. I don't really pay attention to that.
Yeah, they give a lot of gold. I don't think they give as much as ancients, but they give more than a hard camp.
Okay, they're ancients. Holy shit.
What's up? If you're just joining chat, don't be afraid to say hello. Ask us a question if you want. We're doing a Q&A.
Yeah.
I'm Krabby. This is Pyne. We're the hosts.
Thank you for the follow, Albanian Tiger.